So here at the college, if you are unsuccessful in an RFP or an RFQ, we're going to offer you a debrief session. You can take us up on it or not. Totally up to you. Although I can't tell you, I can't be strong enough in saying how valuable it would be to have this debrief session.
Now, is this done over the phone, or is this done in a meeting? Or?
Whatever you prefer.
Okay.
Yeah. When we offer the debrief, we're going to schedule them here at the college. Usually this campus, could be downtown. And you can join in person, or you could tell us you prefer a telephone debrief, whatever works better for you.
Is that for
Everyone?
person that got rejected?
Everyone who is unsuccessful gets offered the debrief.
And they all come in one place, or no?
One at a time.
Okay.
One at a time. This is a private meeting. This is the one time where, because now the solicitation process is over, right? We have selected our successful proponent or our qualified suppliers, and that part's over. So now we get to have those private conversations with you. So we're going to schedule it either by the phone or in person, whichever you prefer. And we're going to talk about what we found in your submission, just with you, whomever from your organization you want to have with you there. Okay? And we can talk about virtually anything on your own submission. You want to know every single score you got, every comment that was made, every time you didn't score perfectly, why not? If you want to know it to that level of detail, sure, we can go to that level of detail. Most vendors, what they really want to know is the highlights. Where did I score poorly? Where did I not do well? Because I know that's what I need to fix for next time. That's the thinking for most vendors. And if you just want the highlights and the overview, we can do that. Whatever works for you, whatever you prefer. Yes?
And that's done through the contact person?
Yes. Yes, the contact person will let you know who is successful, and they will offer you the debrief. And that if you want it, usually there's a time period, so you get notified and you usually have about a week to let us know if you would like the debrief. And then we schedule it. And sometimes it gets scheduled for a few weeks out, and that's just because often the people who need to be at that meeting are involved in the contract negotiations, for example, like they're tied up. And we really want them at that meeting because they've got some valuable information to share with you. Okay? And if you get your notification of when your debrief is, and you can't make it, nothing wrong with asking for it to be rescheduled for another time. I mean, you can ask for that. I mean, we sure like it. I know for myself, when I do a large RFP, I like to schedule the debriefs back to back so I can get them done all at once. And you know, if there's an occasional one here or there that you have to do later, you have to do later. You may find if you have to reschedule, though, that we'll be offering it to you by phone, just because we're not able to get the folks we need to have all in the same room at a convenient time. But you can still get the information. Okay? And we can let you know virtually anything about your own submission. Yes?
Does the college have to disclose the tender results, or do you have the right to hold the results first?
There's certain information that is public information, like who was successful, you will know. When we announce telling you that you were not successful, we'll tell you who was. So that's public information you already know. I'm going to talk in just a minute about what other information we can release. Okay? So virtually anything about your own submission, ask, we can tell you. Private meeting just for you to talk about your submission, what we found. Okay? Now, we can give you some information on other submissions. It's quite limited though. So let's talk about what we're allowed to give you on this. You're already going to know who is successful, because when we announced, we're going to tell you. You know, who we contract with as a publicly funded entity is public information. So you'll know who is on our list or who's our contractor, our highest scoring proponent. So you're going to know who is successful. Now, you can ask us what the overall score was of that successful proposal, or in the case of an RFQ, the range for those who are on the list. Okay? And we can tell you the overall score, no breakdowns. So for example, if I've done an RFP that was approach, capabilities, and price, I can give you the overall score of the successful proposal, but I'm not going to tell you what did they score in approach, and what did they score in capabilities, and what did they score in price. I'm not going to tell you that. That's protected information. So, but it's really useful for you to know. So if you go into this and you find out that your proposal scored 72 out of 100. Now 72 out of 100, I mean, it could be maybe your successful proponent scored 75. And that says, gosh, you were really close. You know, just with a little bit of tweaking, you could get it next time. Maybe the successful proponent scored 95, which is saying you, boy, we're really missing the mark here. We got to pay more attention, or we got to find out, you know, ask more questions, or whatever it is you need to do to get your scores up higher. It's really helpful for you to know how close did you come. And you can find that out. We can give you that overall score only. If you want to know the overall price of the successful proposal, we can give you that. Not unit though. So this depends on the RFP. So let's say I've done an RFP where I've asked you for a fixed annual price. Okay? And if you want to know what the successful proponent's fixed annual price is, I can give you that, because how much we contract every year with who? It's public information. So you can find that out. But if we did an RFP where we asked you for hourly rates or unit pricing of some kind, that's protected. Unit pricing is protected. We won't give you that. Now, having said that, it could be that the successful proposal's price is higher than yours. But remember, price is just one element. You know, if their price is higher than yours, if we're able to give it to you, it's all in an annual price, for example, and it's higher than yours, then you know you scored better than they did in price. We don't have to tell you that. You just know that's how it worked in the process. Okay? But no breakdowns. And you know what they have overall. You'll have to guess as to what the rest is, because we're not going to tell you that. You want to know how many submissions we received? We can tell you that. Your approximate ranking. Oh yeah, you came in about the middle. Or you were on the low side on the scoring. We can tell you that. You know, that information. You want to know who the evaluators are? You can ask us for that. We'll tell you. We will not tell you while the solicitation is open. And the reason for that is that there may be some vendors who know the evaluators and know how they like to receive information or what their pet peeves are or whatever, so they can tailor their response for what they know of an evaluator, which again makes it an unfair process because not everybody's going to know all the evaluators. So we're not going to tell you while the solicitation is open, but in a debrief, after we've selected who's successful, you want to know, ask. We'll tell you. We'll tell you who they were. Okay. After that, we're now going into formal requests if you want more information. We're not going to give you more than that. And we're only going to give you that if you ask us to. Yes?
I've had some experience, I've heard some word of mouth about suppliers offering bursaries or scholarships to some institutions. And including that as part of a proposal, or where would someone put that in if they were looking to include that?
For something like the college here, where you're talking about bursaries or other things that would be of benefit to the college programs, if that's important to the RFP or the RFQ, if it's something that could earn you extra points, the document's going to say so. Yeah.
So that usually is spelled out then?
It's going to be spelled out, yes. If it's going to impact evaluation, I mean, keeping in mind what our legal obligations are, we have to disclose to you anything that's going to make a material difference in scoring. So if it's going to make a difference that, you know, vendor A is offering a bursary and vendor B is not, then obviously this value add bursaries or other such things are important and we need to spell it out.
You did mention though that there was a 70% or 75% of things that were spelled out and 25 that weren't. So
yeah, but keeping in mind the stuff that is not spelled out is not completely out of the blue unrelated things. So for example, I might say in my RFP that that contributions to the program. Let's say I'm buying something for the dentistry program, and contributions that would help the dentistry programs to stretch its budget dollars, to assist its students, etc. Are welcome or would be considered or as part of our value add. Then you know that yeah, we've got some points set aside for this value add, whatever we've called it, and we're not telling you you have to give a bursary of this amount in order to score highest points, because that's not how it would work, right? You could offer a bursary, you could offer, you know, a percentage of product, I mean, whatever. If it was built in, it's going to be telling you. And it's going to be giving you enough information that you know where we're going with it, without us spelling out exactly what it is you have to provide. That'll be up to you. You know, and of course, like with anything, if the vendor that, if we talk about experience to make the analogy, just because experience is easy. If we say 3 or more years of experience, 3 years of experience gets you 1 score, 10 years of experience gets you a higher score. So if we're talking about, things like in-kind contributions or value add as being important, entirely up to you what you want to provide. We're not going to spell it out in minute detail as to what it needs to be. You'll need to do that.
So if it isn't specified, it's not considered.
It's not something we're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, not for that solicitation. Right. Doesn't mean that, there are certainly relationships you have with vendors where such things exist. But if it's not asked for in the solicitation, that means that what you offer around it or anything you might have done in the past is not impacting the score. Okay? It needs to be addressed in order for us to be considering it. Okay? And if it's not sure, if you've got an RFP or an RFQ where you think it might be heading down that road and you're not sure, nothing wrong with asking. And I'm talking about what the college does. Could I speak to this college? Could I speak to all post-secondaries? No. That's what this college, though, will tell you. If it's going to be evaluated, we're going to tell you that it's going to be evaluated. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, for other information about other submissions, you need to do a formal FOI request to do it. And I've given you the website as to how you do it. But I do have a few things to point out about the FOI request. Let's talk about the process. If you submit an FOI request, first thing that happens is we try and figure out how much information are we talking about. And there's a cost associated with this. They estimate how long it would take to gather this information and then go through it, and they're going to give you a cost. So I would recommend that if you're ever going to do an FOI request, whether it's for a solicitation or anything else in government, be very specific on what you're asking for, because the more you ask for, the more it's going to cost. So I'll give you an example from an RFP perspective. If we were to get a request that says we want all correspondence related to RFP XYZ, when the vendor really wants to know, I want a summary of all the point breakdowns of the submissions. Maybe that's what they really want to know. Well, all the correspondence about the RFP, we're talking emails, we're talking submissions, we're talking evaluations, we're talking massive amounts of material. A summary of the breakdown of everyone's points is, a few pages. Huge difference in terms of gathering the information and going through it. So be specific on what information you want if you ever do an FOI request. And then there's the process that gets involved. So the FOI office gets the request, they go to whoever's the holder of the information, they figure out how much information this is going to be, and then the FOI office determines how long is it going to take us to go through this information, and that's what they're going to charge you. So you're going to have a fee associated with this, depending on the time. And that's no guarantee you're going to get what you want. So what happens then, the FOI office gets, let's say somebody's asked for a copy of the successful proposal. That's a fairly common FOI request in the procurement world. So the FOI office takes that proposal, they let the vendor who wrote it know that there's been an FOI request, and they have an opportunity to say, we'll protect this information and that information because, it's going to be harmful to their business if it was released, whatever their reasons are. But the FOI office makes a decision on what gets released. So if this is your proposal, yeah, you get an opportunity to provide your feedback, but you don't decide what gets released, the FOI office does. And they do that by applying the legislation. Now, for what is released, so let's say someone's asked for the successful proposal. They're going to get every page of the proposal, but some of it's going to be blacked out. And that's information that was determined to be confidential, proprietary, whatever the FOI office decided it's not releasable. Okay? And then the rest that's not blocked out, that's what they can see. You can ask for anything you want. You may or may not get it. I will tell you that the FOI office in years past was very restrictive about what was released, and that is slowly changing. So more information is being released in more recent years than what has been in the past.